Sundar Pichai stood near the window of his quiet California home, phone in hand, fingers slightly trembling. It was early morning, but he had been up all night, thinking about his mother, Lakshmi Pichai. She was the reason he had made it this far, her sacrifices, her faith, her quiet strength. Yet, he had never done anything big for her, not something that could match what she gave him. Today, that was going to change. His phone buzzed softly. It was time. In a small home in Chennai, Lakshmi Pichai was folding clothes on the veranda when her old mobile rang. She looked at the screen, surprised to see her son's name flashing. "Sundar," she said, wiping her hands on her. "Sorry, Amma," Sundar said, his voice warm but serious. "I need you to sit down." She laughed gently. "You sound like you're about to give me bad news." "No," he replied, heart pounding. "It's good, but it's big, very big." There was a pause. She sat on the wooden bench outside her door. "I'm listening." He took a breath. "There's someone who wants to speak with you, right now." Lakshmi's brows knit together. "Who?" Sundar didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pressed a button on his phone and connected. The three-way call. The line went silent for a moment. Then came a voice that shook the air around her. "Namaste, Lakshmi ji. This is Narendra Modi." Lakshmi froze. The cloth in her hand fell. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. For a moment, she thought it was a prank. But then the voice continued, warm and respectful. "Your son has spoken of you often. I wanted to personally thank you for raising a man who has brought pride to India." Her heart raced. The world spun. Her voice finally came out, barely a whisper. "Prime Minister Sahib." Sundar listened silently, eyes moist. "Yes," Modi said. "And today, we are celebrating mothers like you. Strong women who never ask for anything, yet give everything." Tears filled Lakshmi's eyes. Her hands shook. She had seen this man, only on television, had never imagined speaking with him. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "No need to say anything," Modi said. "This is just a moment for you." For the first time in years, Lakshmi felt like someone had truly seen her, not just as Sundar's mother, but as Lakshmi, the woman who walked in heat and rain so her son could attend computer classes, the woman who skipped meals so he wouldn't feel hungry, the woman who never asked for thanks, never expected rewards. As the call ended, she stayed still for a long time. Then she looked up at the sky, her eyes full of light. That afternoon, the neighbors saw her walking differently, taller, lighter, like she was carrying something new in her heart. But what none of them knew was that this was only the beginning, because the next day, Lakshmi Pichai's name would be on every news channel in India, and not everyone was happy about it. The morning sun rose gently over Chennai, but the peace in Lakshmi Pichai's home did not last long. At exactly 7:02 a.m., her phone buzzed, non-stop. First it was her sister from Madurai, then her old neighbor from Jindi, then the temple priest's daughter. "Lakshmi Akka, you're on TV," one caller shouted. "They just showed your photo with Sundar and Prime Minister Modi." Lakshmi blinked, still in her night sari, holding a spoon of sugar over her tea. "What are you talking about?" She turned on the TV, hands shaking. There it was. A national headline in bold letters said, "Prime Minister Modi personally calls Sundar Pichai's mother, praises her sacrifices." Underneath it, her photo filled the screen. A picture from years ago, holding young Sundar's school trophy, wearing a simple cotton sari, and a quiet smile. Sundar's sister ran into the room, out of breath. "You're trending on social media." Lakshmi sat down, speechless. Her small home filled with calls, visitors, and even a local reporter by afternoon. Strangers gathered outside her gate, waving phone cameras, asking her to smile, to wave, to speak. One even asked her to recreate the phone call. She didn't understand any of it. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered to Sundar when he called. "I know, Uma," he said. But people need to see real heroes, not actors, not just politicians. Mothers like you." Her eyes filled with tears, but in the shadows of her sudden fame, not everyone felt joy. In a quiet office in Delhi, a political aide stared at the news report on his laptop. He frowned. Why is she being highlighted? Another man, older, leaned over. "You know how it works. The public loves emotional stories." "Yes, but this is dangerous. If people start praising mothers and not the system, it shifts power." They looked at each other, silent. Meanwhile, across the country, thousands of women began sharing their own stories online, of raising children through poverty, of sleepless nights, of sacrifices never seen. Hashtags began to trend. Mothers of India. Lakshmi Pichai. Real heroes. A quiet revolution had started. But fame brings both light and shadow. A man in a pressed white shirt arrived at Lakshmi's gate that evening. He looked calm, respectful, too polished. "Namaste, madame," he said. "I'm here on behalf of a private foundation. We would like to offer you an award." Lakshmi looked confused. "Award?" "Yes," he smiled. "Just sign this paper. It will allow us to honor you at a national event." She glanced at the paper. Too many words. Too many pages. Her son had taught her one thing: never sign what you don't understand. "I'll ask Sundar first," she said softly. The man's smile faded. "No need to disturb him." "Still," she said firmly, "he will know." The man left, his polite smile hiding his frustration. That night, Lakshmi sat alone in her courtyard, the crowd finally gone, the TV off. She looked at the sky again, but this time, her eyes weren't just full of light, they were full of questions, because behind every spotlight, there is a shadow waiting to grow. The next morning, Lakshmi woke up to silence. No calls, no visitors, no reporters at her gate. For a moment, she felt relieved. Maybe the storm had passed. But then she saw it. On her front step lay a plain white envelope. No name, no stamp. She picked it up carefully. Inside was a printed sheet with bold black words. "You are being used. Keep your mouth shut." She sat down slowly. The paper trembled in her hand. She read the line again and again, then folded it and placed it under the old tin box where she kept temple offerings. That same morning, in California, Sundar opened his email and froze. There were hundreds of messages, most kind, but one caught his eye. "Your mother is becoming a political tool. Watch your back." His jaw tightened. He immediately called his mother. "Amma, did anyone visit you again?" She didn't tell him about the letter. Not yet. She didn't want to worry him. "No one important," she said. "Just some people with papers. But I sent them away." "Good," he said. "Stay alert, and Amma, if anything feels wrong, call me immediately." She nodded, even though he couldn't see. Meanwhile, in a government office in Delhi, the two men from earlier met with a third figure, a minister. "Sir, her story is too clean," one said. "People are talking more about her than the policies." The minister didn't blink, then shift the narrative. "Dig into her past. Find something. Anything." "But there's nothing. Make something," the minister said coldly. "If we control the story, we control the people." Back in Chennai, a woman named Vanathi, who used to be Lakshmi's neighbor decades ago, suddenly appeared at her doorstep. "Lakshmi, remember me?" she asked with a wide smile. "Vanathi?" From the old street near the water pump. Lakshmi blinked, surprised. "Yes," she said. "I saw you on TV. I always knew you'd be famous one day." They sat together, drinking tea. Vanathi talked about old memories, old friends, old secrets. But then she leaned forward. "Do you remember your cousin's case?" she asked quietly. Lakshmi tensed. "What case? The land dispute? The one where you signed something years ago?" "People say it caused trouble." Lakshmi stood. up, her face pale. I didn't sign anything illegal. No, Vanathy said quickly. I just meant, ... The past can come back, especially when you're in the light. That night, Lakshmi sat under the neem tree in her backyard. The letter, the questions, the strange visitors. It was clear now. This wasn't about honor anymore. It was about control. And she was in the center of something much bigger than she ever wanted. But what they didn't know was this. Lakshmi Pichai had lived through hunger, through illness, through the pain of watching her children cry silently so she could stay strong. She had bent, but she had never broken, and she wasn't about to start now. The next day, Lakshmi stood near her small kitchen window, stirring the pot of sambar as the aroma filled her home. But her heart wasn't in it. Her mind was elsewhere on the silent threats, the visitors, and the way people now watched her. Her temple friend, Mala, came by later, with worry in her eyes. Lakshmi, the tea shop boys were whispering. Someone said you were involved in a court case years ago. Is it true? Lakshmi blinked. What court case? Mala hesitated. They're saying you signed a paper that helped a company take poor people's land. Lakshmi dropped the ladle. That's a lie. I signed nothing like that. It was a family land split. We only settled a boundary issue. They're saying you were paid for it. Paid, Lakshmi whispered. We didn't even have bus fare back then. Mala looked down. I know you, but others, they're starting to doubt. Lakshmi's hands trembled. Her name, once spoken with pride, was now being twisted. Meanwhile, in Delhi, the minister smiled as he looked at a printed blog post on his table. Hero mother, or silent fraud. Let public doubt her, he said to his aide. Truth doesn't matter. Perception does. But truth has a way of finding light. In California, Sundar saw the same article. His chest tightened. The words were cruel, full of half-truths and twisted details. He picked up his phone and called a journalist he trusted. Her name was Layla, a calm, sharp woman known for exposing false narratives. Layla, he said, I need help. They're targeting my mother. Send me everything, she replied. I'll find the truth. Hours later, Layla was in Chennai. She didn't arrive with a camera crew or flashy car. She came alone, wearing a simple kurti, a notepad in hand. She sat with Lakshmi in the courtyard. I'm not here to make you famous, Leela said softly. I'm here to find the truth. Tell me everything. No filters. For the first time in days, Lakshmi felt seen not as a story, but as a person. She spoke slowly, about her life, her struggles, the land dispute, the years of walking miles so Sundar could learn computers, about the shame she carried when she couldn't afford his first textbook. Leela listened. No interruptions, just quiet respect. At the end, she closed her notepad. Thank you, she said. Before leaving, Leela handed Lakshmi a small silver bracelet. My mother wore this when she went through something similar, she said. She told me, truth walks slowly, but it never loses its way. That night, Lakshmi held the bracelet and prayed. Not for fame, not for revenge. She prayed for strength, for truth, and for her son's safety, because she knew when powerful people feel threatened by the quiet strength of a mother, they don't stop with lies, they dig deeper, and now, they were reaching for The morning air in California felt heavier than usual. Sundar sat in his office, eyes locked on his laptop screen. The article had gone viral overnight. Headlines were everywhere. Is Sundar Pichai's mother hiding a dark past? He stared at the screen, jaw tight, then opened a message from Leela. Don't worry, I'm close to the truth, but someone doesn't want me to reach it. I was followed last night. He felt his heart drop. He had always believed in logic, in solving problems with data, but this was something else, something personal, emotional, messy. He picked up the phone and called her. Leela, leave it. I can handle this through legal teams. But her voice was steady. No, Sundar, if I back off now, they win. And your mother deserves better. Meanwhile, in Chennai, Lakshmi opened her door to find a young boy standing outside. He handed her a folded note, then ran off. The note read, "Stop talking, or your son will pay the price." She sat down hard on the floor, the note fluttering from her fingers. But she didn't cry. Instead, she stood up, walked to the small prayer shelf in her living room, and lit a lamp, her hands folded. Then she picked up the phone and called Sundar. "Uma," he said quickly, hearing the heaviness in her breath. "They're coming after you," she said. "I want you to promise me something. Anything. Don't stop," she said. "If we give up now, then every mother who stayed quiet will remain invisible forever." He didn't answer for a moment. "Okay," he finally whispered. While they spoke, Leela was following a trail of documents at a dusty office in Chennai's old district. Among the stacks of records, she found it. The original land case. She opened it, pages yellow with age, and there it was, clear proof that Lakshmi had been falsely added to a document by someone else. The real signer had passed away 5 years ago, and someone had quietly changed the records to include her name. Leela took photos, made copies, and walked out, but she wasn't alone. A man followed her, watching from a distance. His phone buzzed. He whispered, "She has it." Back at the minister's office, panic grew. "Sir," the aide said, "if she goes public, it's over." The minister clenched his jaw. "Then stop her." Meanwhile, Lakshmi opened her gate to find a camera crew waiting. "Madam," a reporter said, "would you like to respond to the growing scandal?" She looked at them for a long time. Then she said softly, "Come tomorrow. Bring everyone. I'll speak." The next day, outside her small home, dozens of reporters gathered. Cameras, microphones, neighbors standing on rooftops. And just before she stepped out, Sundar called her, double quotes, "AMM." He said, voice full of emotion, "Are you sure?" She smiled. "A mother teaches her child to speak the truth. How can I stay silent now?" She walked out, slow but steady, wearing a simple white sari, and as the cameras flashed, she began to speak, not with anger, but with quiet power, about being a mother, about truth, about how silence is not humility when it protects lies. And as she spoke, across the country, people listened, but in the crowd, someone didn't want her to finish. A man moved toward her, slowly, hand inside his coat. The man in the crowd moved slowly, hand still inside his coat. Lakshmi didn't see him. Her eyes were focused on the people before her, on their faces, their silence, their waiting. Her voice trembled, but only for a second. "We think silence protects us," she said. "But silence only protects lies. I stayed quiet for years, thinking the world had no place for voices like mine. Today, I speak not for fame. I speak for every mother who was told to keep her head down." As the crowd leaned closer, the man stepped forward again, eyes cold. Leela, standing near a van, spotted him. Something about the way he moved felt wrong. Her breath caught. Before she could react, 2 security officers who had been sent by Sundar's team moved in. They had been watching from the rooftop across the street. One radio call and they jumped into action. The man reached into his coat, but he didn't pull out a weapon. He pulled out a phone and tried to record a staged video to twist her words. "Get that device," one guard shouted. The crowd turned. The man ran. Officers tackled him to the ground. Gasps echoed through the street. Cameras zoomed in, and within minutes, it was all over social media. The plan had failed. The lie had been caught. Lakshmi remained. Standing.quiet.com, strong.leela. Stepped beside her, holding a folder high. "This," she said into the nearest microphone, "is the truth. Official documents showing that Lakshmi Pichai was falsely named in a land case. She was framed by people who feared her story, Reporters began shouting questions. People clapped. Some cried. In Delhi, the minister watched the live feed with clenched fists. "Sir," his aide said, "it's gone too far. The people are with her now." By that evening, the minister had resigned. By the next morning, newspapers across the country read, "Mother of Truth defeats politics of fear." Lakshmi sat in her courtyard, sipping chai, her story now told in every corner of India. But she didn't celebrate. She simply folded her hands and whispered a small prayer. "Not for me," she said, "but for every woman who still waits to be heard." Sundar called her later. "Amma," he said, voice full of pride, "you changed everything." She smiled. "No, I just told the truth. Truth did the rest." Months passed. A new scholarship program was launched across India. It was called the Lakshmi Light Fund, for mothers raising children alone. Lakshmi never asked for credit. But when a little girl from a remote village received her first computer tablet, she looked into the camera and said, "Thank you, Auntie Lakshmi." And somewhere in Chennai, Lakshmi watched that moment on TV, holding her hands to her heart. In a world that had once tried to silence her, her voice now echoed through generations. Not because she shouted, but because she stood, even when it was hard. A year later, the morning sun poured gently over Chennai's quiet lanes. Inside a modest home with blue-painted walls, Lakshmi Pichai watered her tulsi plant. The world outside had changed, but her routine remained simple. Prayers at dawn, tea with ginger, soft music on the radio. Her life had returned to calm, but now calm came with respect. Children passing by her gate paused to greet her. Teachers invited her to speak in schools. Mothers wrote her letters, some in ink, some in tears. But Lakshmi never let fame harden her heart. She still stitched her own blouses, still made doses with her old iron pan, still lived in the house where Sundar once studied under a flickering bulb. One morning, a young woman in a plain kurti arrived at her gate. Her name was Neha, a college student studying journalism. "Auntie," she said softly, "can I talk to you?" Lakshmi smiled. "Of course, child." They sat on the veranda, sharing tea. "I read everything about your story," Neha said, "but the part that moved me most was that you never spoke in anger." Lakshmi looked up at the sky. "Anger burns fast," she said. "But truth holds light. It grows slowly, like dawn." Neha nodded, wiping her eyes. "Can I ask you one?" "Last question," she said, double quotes, "yes. What gave you the strength to stand up?" Lakshmi paused. Then she reached into the folds of her sari and pulled out a small, worn photo. It was of young Sundar standing beside her at a science fair, holding a medal made of cardboard. "He thought it was gold," she whispered, "and I let him believe that. Because dreams grow best when they're protected by love." She smiled. "I stood up for him, and for every child whose dream depends on a mother's quiet strength." Later that month, Lakshmi was invited to the capital for a ceremony. She walked onto the stage in a simple white sari, wearing the same bracelet Leela had once given her. Prime Minister Modi greeted her with folded hands. This time, she wasn't surprised. This time the nation was ready to listen. In his speech, Modi said, "We often celebrate success, but today, we honor the root of success, the sacrifice, the strength, and the soul of a mother." As applause filled the hall, Lakshmi stood beside him, silent, humble, proud. In California, Sundar watched the live stream with misty eyes. Beside him sat his daughter, who looked up and said, "That's Grandma." "Yes," he smiled, "and she's the bravest person I know." The next day, a statue was unveiled in a school in Tamil Nadu. It wasn't tall, it wasn't grand. It was a small bronze figure of a mother, with her hand on her son's shoulder. At the base were three simple words: truth, dignity, love, and underneath, a line carved in soft Tamil, Oru, Amma, Oru, O-L-I, Mother, a light.